In this League of Legends, Wild Rift Teemo guide you'll find everything you need to know about the champion, from his skills, and how to allocate them to his build, skill combo, and runes. Teemo is the next Wild Rift hero we're going to tackle, and he is by far one of the most beloved and hated, at the same time, champions in Runeterra. This little yordle has a fairly simple kit, but the devil hides in plain sight, right? And that's exactly the case for this guy, and he even has a skin based on that, little devil Teemo. He can inflict powerful damage over time, slow and blind the opponents, and to top it all off, he's also very swift. Although he's not a tanky champion, he is played in the top lane as a counter to typical fighters like Garen and Darius. This time we will talk about the most loved, hated and known champion in the entire franchise, being a kind of mascot for everything that is Riot Games, and having in hand a quite toxic but fun arsenal. Teemo, the Swift Scout. Let's begin with video with his skills. Teemo, his active and passive skills. His passive ability, Guerrilla Warfare, allows that if Teemo remains immobile and takes no action for a short period, he will become invisible indefinitely. Also, as long as he is in a bush, he will be able to activate and maintain invisibility while he moves. By leaving invisibility, Teemo gains the element of surprise, increasing his attack speed by 3 seconds. Let's move on to his active skills. Blinding Dart. Launches a dart that blurs the enemy's vision with a powerful poison, dealing damage and blinding the target unit for the duration of the effect. Move Quick. Passively increase movement speed until Teemo is hit by an enemy champion or turret. By activating it, Teemo will be able to gain a movement speed bonus that is not lost if he is hit by an enemy for a short period of time. Toxic Shot. Allows each attack to passively poison the target, dealing damage on impact and each second after 4 seconds. And the ultimate Noxious Trap. Teemo launches an explosive poison trap using one of the mushrooms that he carries in his backpack. If it is stepped on by an enemy, it will release a poisonous cloud that slows enemies and deals damage to them over time. If Teemo throws a mushroom on another mushroom, it will bounce, gaining additional range. And one of skill is Invisibility. Teemo's passive allows him to go invisible after standing still for a few seconds. However, if he is in a brush, he will be able to move freely in that brush while being invisible. That allows for powerful surprise attacks on otherwise unexpected enemies. As Omega Squad Teemo would say, become one with the jungle. Mushrooms everywhere. Teemo can bounce his mushrooms, skill 4, if he casts it against another mushroom, sending it further away. He can basically place them everywhere around the map, granting him vision every time an opponent steps on it. His mushrooms can act as wards, but they will also do plenty of damage. In what order to level up the skills? For Teemo, it pretty much depends on the matchup, but generally, you want to level up the skills in the following order: Level 1. Skill 1 Level 2. Skill 3 Level 3. Skill 2 Level 4. Skill 1 Level 5. Skill 4 Level 6. Skill 1 Level 7. Skill 1 Keep leveling Skill 1 until it's maxed, then focus on Skill 3, and lastly on Skill 2. Don't forget to keep adding 1 point into your Skill 4, Ultimate, whenever possible. So, this was his skill and ability. How to combo as Teemo in Wild Rift. Teemo is a fairly easy to play champion, and he has no specific combos that you will have to pull off. The one thing that comes anywhere close to a combo is the fact that his Skill 1 resets his auto attacks, which also apply poison, which is procced by his Skill 3. Nothing too crazy to pull off, I'd say. However, you want to make the most out of his other 2 major elements in his kit. Invisibility and mushrooms. Let's look at recommended runes and spells for Teemo. Teemo can be a somewhat peculiar champion, given his abilities with progressive damage which cause poisoning effects from the beginning of the match. The impact of a single one of his attacks can be brutal if you face a Teemo more than prepared. These are his recommended runes. Electrocute triggers on successful skill combos and trades, dealing bonus damage to affected enemies and increasing her burst damage. This has good synergy with his Toxic Shot. Gathering Storm increases overall damage over time. Regeneration regenerates life or mana, depending on which of these is currently lower. Hunter Genius grants additional cooldown reduction for each unique takedown. It lets you spam poisonous mushrooms more frequently. Or you can try Kleptomacy with Gathering Storm, Regeneration and Manaflow Band. Let's check his summoner spells go hand in hand with his elusive playstyle, as well as focus on his surprise attacks and great mobility. Flash allows you to have additional options to enter teamfights, finish off enemy champions, or escape from dangerous situations. Ignite Use it as a tool to finish off enemies in case they want to escape with low health and to prevent strong healing effects from your enemies in the barren lane. The best items for Teemo. His composition of items is focused on a single objective: to hugely increase his ability power, making Teemo a hard opponent to deal with the large amount of damage he will do as the game progresses, while also increasing his cooldown reduction to spam his noxious traps faster. Liandry's Torment. Being in combat with enemy champions generates 1 stack every second for the next 4 seconds, dealing extra damage for each stack. Also, this allows you to do more damage based on your enemy's health, doubling it if they are slowed or immobilized. Gluttonous Greaves. Grants omnivampirism, giving you a better chance of surviving in fights. We recommend using them with Teleport enchant. Gnasher's Tooth. Grants bonus attack speed, magic damage, ability power, and ability haste. Rylai's Crystal Scepter. Grants a slow effect on attacks hit on any target, plus additional health and ability power. Rabadon's Deathcap. Dramatically increases ability power by 40%. To complement this, we recommend bringing with you Infinity Orb, Void Staff, Morellonomicon, or Luden's Echo. All of these to further increase the impact of his basic attacks and explosive traps. Or you can try this out. You can use this boots. Gluttonous Stasis is the boot you want if the opponent has a champion that can one-shot you, such as Zed. Situational, Gluttonous Teleport works well in most situations because it lets you have a lot of mobility around the map. Teemo's strengths and weakness. Strengths. Thanks to his kit, Teemo is extremely good against tank bruiser champions and also against champions that deal damage from auto attacks. Generally marksman, Teemo's ultimate Noxian Trap is the main arsenal in his kit, which can create a big impact in team fights and skirmishes in the later stages of the game. Weakness. Teemo has low defense stats in the early game and is weak against heavy attack damage ability power assassins that can kill him with just their abilities. If played the wrong way, Teemo has almost none to zero impact in team fights. Let's look at Teemo counters. He is strong against Teemo counters almost all the champions that are melee ranged like Nasus, Dr. Mundo, Malphite, and so on. He is also good against most of the marksmen in early to mid game. He is weak against Teemo, is weak against champions that have high resistances and can sustain for a longer duration against him like Fiora, Camille, and Singe. How good is Teemo in Wild Rift? Teemo is undoubtedly the most annoying and notorious champion in LoL Wild Rift. He can be played in multiple roles and lanes. Even though Teemo is strong in one-on-one duels, has good late-game scaling, and can set up plays for his team, it's a tall task to make use of Teemo in a straight-on 5v5 team fight unless you have set up your noxious trap around the enemy team. Considering how low of an impact a champion like Teemo can have in team fights, he'll be a B-tier champion in Wild Rift. Tips for Teemo's playstyle. Teemo, like every marksman in the game, is a champion with ranged attacks, with a very strong emphasis on attacks with ability power, which do a certain amount of damage per second as the game progresses. To begin, his passive allows him to be an overly elusive champion since simply by staying static or entering a bush he will become virtually invisible, which any player can take advantage of to frustrate or ambush opponents without having to wait for your jungler for this. Needless to say, this also lets you get rid of any enemies that are coming after you in a matter of seconds. Moving on to his active abilities, you'll always want to start by leveling up his Toxic Shot, as this is the one that allows Teemo to deal damage for his most well-known characteristic, his progressive poisoning. Thanks to Toxic Shot, any basic attack that manages to hit the enemy will do extra damage, which will be useful when facing tanks or powerful enemies in the Dragon lane. Now, the next approach to highlight is his Blinding Dart, which will be vital for you when an enemy wants to engage against you and you think he can come out better off. Using this, combined with Move Quick, will allow you to get out of almost any combat alive. However, do not trust yourself as any other enemy may be waiting from the other end. This is where this Badger's essential weapon comes in, his Noxious Traps. You can use them to eliminate waves of minions faster, as well as to cover possible entrances of ambushes in the early game, even to surround an epic monster like dragons or the Baron, and finally as cloaked wards, giving you vision and static time bombs, waiting for some enemy to step on this without caution. With that said, Teemo, in general, can become the headache of any player, so much so that it is viable to be carried in any lane, most of the time. So if you ever get the chance to give it a try, don't waste your time and test this fantastic explorer to find out what has made him famous since his release in the main version. Wild Rift, Teemo, question and answers. 1. Can I build attack damage on Teemo, marksman? Considering that all the abilities in Teemo's kit does ability power damage, it is a bad idea to make attack damage build on him. However, you can always make the Gnasher's Tooth build on Teemo while playing him in the dragon lane. 2. How do I maximize the potential of Teemo's ultimate Noxious Trap? Well, it's always good to put Noxious Trap on places around objectives, Dragon Pit, Barren Pit, River Area, or in areas of the map where you think a team fight or skirmish is going to take place. 3. What are the core items on Teemo? Teemo Mage build, Gnasher's Tooth, Liandry's Torment, Rylai's Crystal Scepter, and Rabadon's Deathcap. Teemo AD Marksman build, Runan's Hurricane, Manamune, Static Shiv, and Infinity Edge. Thanks for watching the video.